Bank of Baroda is an Indian state-owned banking and financial services company headquartered in Vadodara in Gujarat, India. It is the second largest bank in India, after State Bank of India, and offers a range of banking products and financial services to corporate and retail customers through its branches and through its specialized subsidiaries and affiliates. During FY 2012-13, its total business was 8,021 billion. In addition to its headquarters in its home state of Gujarat, it has a corporate headquarters in the Bandra Kurla complex in Mumbai. Based on 2012 data, it is ranked 715 on Forbes Global 2000 list. BOB has total assets in excess of 3.58 trillion, 3,583 billion, a network of 4464 branches in India, and over 2,000 ATMs. The bank was founded by the Maharaja of Baroda, H.H. Subsidiary Gaikwad III on July 20, 1908 in the princely state of Baroda, in Gujarat. The bank, along with 13 other major commercial banks of India, was nationalised on July 19, 1969, by the Government of India and has been designated as a profit-making public sector undertaking. Bank of Baroda is one of the big four banks of India, along with State Bank of India, ICICI Bank and Punjab National Bank. History, 1908 to Euro 1959. In 1908, Maharaja Subsidiary Gaikwad III, one of the knights of the Maratha Kingdom, set up the Bank of Baroda, with other stalwarts of industry such as Sampatrao Gaikwad, Ralph Whitenack, Vithaldas Thakasi, Tulsidas Kilachand and N.M. Chokshi. 2 years later, BOB established its first branch in Ahmedabad. The bank grew domestically until after World War II. Then in 1953 it crossed the Indian Ocean to serve the communities of Indians in Kenya and Indians in Uganda by establishing a branch each in Mombasa and Kampala. The next year it opened a second branch in Kenya, in Nairobi, and in 1956 it opened a branch in Dar es Salaam. Then in 1957 BOB took a giant step abroad by establishing a branch in London. London was the centre of the British Commonwealth and the most important international banking centre. In 1958 BOB acquired Hind Bank, which became BOB's first domestic acquisition. 1960s. In 1961, BOB merged a New Citizen Bank of India. This merger helped it increase its branch network in Maharashtra. BOB also opened a branch in Fiji. The next year it opened a branch in Mauritius. Bank of Baroda in 1963, BOB acquired Surat Banking Corporation in Surat, Gujarat. The next year BOB acquired two banks, Umbergain Phiopli Euro unregistered trademark S Bank in southern Gujarat and Tamil Nadu Central Bank in Tamil Nadu state. In 1965, BOB opened a branch in Guyana. That same year BOB lost its branch in Narayanganj due to the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. It is unclear when BOB had opened the branch. In 1967 it suffered a second loss of branches when the Tanzanian government nationalized BOBA Euro unregistered trademark S3 branches thereat, and transferred their operations to the Tanzanian government-owned National Banking Corporation. In 1969 the Indian government nationalized 14 top banks, including BOB. BOB incorporated its operations in Uganda as a 51% subsidiary, with the government owning the rest. 1972s. In 1972, BOB acquired Bank of India's operations in Uganda. 2 years later, BOB opened a branch each in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Back in India, in 1975, BOB acquired the majority shareholding and management control of Bareilly Corporation Bank and Nainital Bank, both in Uttar Pradesh. Since then, Nainital Bank has expanded to Uttarakhand state. International expansion continued in 1976 with the opening of a branch in Oman and another in Brussels. The Brussels branch was aimed at Indian firms from Mumbai engaged in diamond cutting and jewellery having business in Antwerp, a major centre for diamond cutting. 2 years later, BOB opened a branch in New York and another in the Seychelles. Then in 1979, BOB opened a branch in Nassau, the Bahamas. 1980s. In 1980, BOB opened a branch in Bahrain and a representative office in Sydney, Australia. BOB, Union Bank of India and Indian Bank established IUB International Finance, a licensed deposit taker, in Hong Kong. Each of the three banks took an equal share. Eventually, Bob would buy out its partners. A second consortium or joint venture bank followed in 1985. Bob, Bank of India, Central Bank of India and ZIMCO established Indo-Zambia Bank in Lusaka. That same year Bob also opened an offshore banking unit in Bahrain. Back in India, in 1988, Bob acquired Traders Bank, which had a network of 34 branches in Delhi. 1990s, in 1990, Bob opened an OBU in Mauritius, but closed its representative office in Sydney. The next year Bob took over the London branches of Union Bank of India and Punjab and Sind Bank. PNZR Euro unregistered trademark S branch had been established before 1970 and Union Bank a Euro unregistered trademark S after 1980. The Reserve Bank of India ordered the takeover of the two following the bank's involvement in the Cethia fraud in 1987 and subsequent losses. Then in 1992 Bob incorporated its operations in Kenya into a local subsidiary with a small tranche of shares quoted on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. The next year, Bob closed its OBU in Bahrain. In 1996, Bob Bank entered the capital markets in December with an initial public offering. The Government of India is still the largest shareholder, owning 66% of the bank's equity. In 1997, Bob opened a branch in Durban. The next year Bob bought out its partners in IUB International Finance in Hong Kong. Apparently this was a response to regulatory changes following Hong Kong Euro unregistered trademark S reversion to the FIOPLI Euro unregistered trademark S Republic of China. The now wholly owned subsidiary became Bank of Baroda, a restricted license bank. Bob also acquired Punjab Cooperative Bank in a rescue. Bob incorporate wholly owned subsidiary Bob Capital Markets Limited for broking business. In 1999, Bob merged in Bareilly Corporation Bank in another rescue. At the time, Bareilly had 64 branches, including 4 in Delhi. In Guyana, Bob incorporated its branch as a subsidiary, Bank of Baroda Guyana. Bob added a branch in Mauritius and closed its Harrow branch in London. 2000, Bob established Bank of Baroda. 2002, Bob acquired Benares State Bank at the Reserve Bank of India Euro unregistered trademark S request. BSB was established in 1946 but traced its origins back to 1871 and its function as the Treasury Office of the Benares State. In 1964, BSB had acquired Bareilly Bank, with 7 branches. It also had taken over Lucknow Bank in 1968. The acquisition of BSB brought Bob 105 new branches. 2002, Bank of Baroda was listed on the Uganda Securities Exchange. 2003, Bob opened an OBU in Mumbai. 2004, Bob acquired the failed Gujarat Local Area Bank, and returned to Tanzania by establishing a subsidiary in Dar es Salaam. Bob also opened a representative office each in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and Guangdong, China. 2005, Bob built a global data center in Mumbai for running its centralized banking solution and other applications in more than 1,900 branches across India and 20 other counties where the bank operates. Bob also opened a representative office in Thailand. 2006, Bob established an offshore banking unit in Singapore. 2007, in its centenary year, Bobar Euro unregistered trademark S total business crossed 2.09 trillion, its branches crossed 2,000, and its global customer base 29 million people. 2008, Bob opened a branch in Guangzhou, China and in Kenton, Harrow, United Kingdom. Bob opened a joint venture life insurance company with Andhra Bank and Legal & General called India First Life Insurance Company, 2010s. In 2010, Malaysia awarded a commercial banking license to a locally incorporated bank to be jointly owned by Bank of Baroda, Indian Overseas Bank and Andhra Bank. That same year, Bob also opened a branch in New Zealand. In 2011, Bob opened an electronic banking service unit was opened at Umrah Free Zone, Sahajor. It also opened 4 new branches in existing operations in Uganda, Kenya, and Guyana. Bob closed its representative office in Malaysia in anticipation of the opening of its consortium bank there. Bob received in principle approval for the upgrading of its representative office in Australia to a branch. The Malaysian Consortium Bank, India International Bank Malaysia, finally opened in Kuala Lumpur, which has a large population of Indians. Bob owns 40%, Andhra Bank owns 25%, and IOB the remaining 35% of the share capital. IIBM seeks to open 5 branches within its first year of operations in Malaysia, and intends to grow to 15 branches within the next 3 years. Subsidiaries. Bob Capital Markets is a SEBI-registered investment banking company based in Mumbai, Maharashtra. It is a wholly owned subsidiary of Bank of Baroda. Its financial services portfolio includes initial public offerings, private placement of debts, corporate restructuring, business valuation, mergers and acquisition, project appraisal, loan syndication, institutional equity research, and brokerage. International presence. In its international expansion, the Bank of Baroda followed the Indian diaspora, especially that of Gujaratis. The bank has 101 branches offices in 24 countries including 61 branches offices of the bank, 38 branches of its 8 subsidiaries and 1 representative office in Thailand. The Bank of Baroda has a joint venture in Zambia with 16 branches. Among the Bank of Baroda Euro unregistered trademark S overseas branches are ones in the world Euro unregistered trademark S major financial centers, as well as a number in other countries. The bank is engaged in retail banking via the branches of subsidiaries in Botswana, Guyana, Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. The bank has recently upgraded its representative office in Australia to a branch and set up a joint venture commercial bank in Malaysia. It has a large presence in Mauritius with about 9 branches spread out in the country. The Bank of Baroda has received permission or in principle approval from host country regulators to open new offices in Trinidad and Tobago and Ghana, where it seeks to establish joint ventures or subsidiaries. The bank has received Reserve Bank of India approval to open offices in the Maldives and New Zealand. It is seeking approval for operations in Bahrain, South Africa, Kuwait, Mozambique, and Qatar, and is establishing offices in Canada, New Zealand, Sri Lanka, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and Russia. It also has plans to extend its existing operations in the United Kingdom, the United Arab Emirates, and Botswana. The tagline of Bank of Baroda is India's International Bank. Affiliates. India First Life Insurance Company is a joint venture between Bank of Baroda and fellow Indian state-owned bank Andhra Bank, and UCA Euro unregistered trademark S Financial and Investment Company Legal and General. It was incorporated in November 2009 and has its headquarters in Mumbai. The company started strongly, achieving a turnover in excess of 2 billion in its first 4.5 months. Baroda Manipal Postgraduate Diploma in Banking and Finance. Bank of Baroda and Manipal University have established the Baroda Manipal School of Banking, which offers a postgraduate diploma in banking and finance from Manipal University. The duration of the course is just 1 year, after which, successful graduates will join Bank of Baroda as management trainees. Bank of Baroda Financials 2013, sales 352 billion, profits 45 billion, assets 4,496 billion. See also, Indian Banking, India First Life Insurance Company Limited. Subsidiary Garlickwood, List of banks in India, Indian Financial System Code, Baroda, Bank of Baroda, References. Further reading, Tripathi, Dwijendra and Pritai Misra. Towards a New Frontier, History of the Bank of Baroda, 1908 to 1983, Side Indian. External links, media related to Bank of Baroda at Wikimedia Commons, Bank of Baroda website, Bank of Baroda Hong Kong website.